You're listening to Now I've Heard Everything, conversations with the icons of our time.
There are lots of things to debate, lots of things to discuss, and there's vast difference among historians on these issues, but that's very different than saying something didn't happen when we know it's a fact.
Historian Deborah Lipstadt. Today on Now I've Heard Everything, I'm Bill Thompson. For the better part of 4 decades, historian Deborah Lipstadt has been combating Holocaust denial. She has found a sizable share of people, both in the United States and elsewhere around the world, who now believe that the Holocaust never happened. Some deniers have even offered so-called proof that it was all a hoax. In 1993, Deborah Lipstadt put her findings in a book that she called Denying the Holoocaust. And that's when I had a chance to talk with her. In a moment, our conversation.
They say what's old is new again. You're about to see if that's true as you listen to an interview from noted radio personality Bill Thompson's 30-year archive. Enjoy.
So here now from 1993, Deborah Lipstadt.
I couldn't help wondering as I was reading this book if you must have given us a lot of thought yourself, if you are not doing what you have cautioned yourself against doing, as you tell us at the outset of the book, by giving these people validity by discussing them.
Well, I worried about that a lot. I struggled with it. I refused, throughout writing the book, I fought against being sucked into a debate, which I think is no debate, and an argument which is no argument. But I did fear and worry that in writing the book, I was giving them, if not validity, I was giving them credibility, because here was a historian taking them seriously. And that's a problem, and that's something I may have done inadvertently, but I figured that the importance of bringing the issue of Holocaust denial to the general public and educating them about what it was, who these people were, what their modus operandi is, was worth the risk of possibly giving these guys some publicity.
It must be very alarming to you to notice, as you say in the book, that they are no longer regarded simply as the Lunatic Fringe, who we hear from every now and then and have a good chuckle or a guffaw over, like the Flat Earth Society, but that they're actually getting some real attention.
Well, they're getting some real attention from people who don't quite understand who they are. Once people understand who they are, they realize this stuff is utter nonsense, that it's no more credible than 2 + 2 = 5. If I were you were a math teacher teaching my kids math, and I came into the class and I said, I think you should give equal time to the theory that 2 + 2 = 5. You'd look at me like I was nuts, and if you spent any time on it, you'd be out of your job so fast we couldn't, blink an eye. First thing we could blink an eye. It's the same thing. It's utter nonsense. But what has happened is that on college campuses in particular, but not only on college campuses, good-hearted people listen to these deniers and say, well, I don't believe them, but they sound rational, they seem reasonable, they seem logical, because what the deniers have done in recent years is change their tactics. What they've done is when they first started out, they used to march around dressed like today's skinheads, the equivalent, looking like neo-Nazis with Nazi flags, or saying they were fascists, or in Ku Klux Klan outfits or whatever. Today, the deniers have discovered that that doesn't win them any points, and that doesn't gain them entree into mainstream society. So what they've done is get rid of the outer accoutrements, which say, I'm a skinhead, I'm a Ku Klux Klaner, I'm a neo-Nazi. They dress up very nicely, look very rational, look very academic, give academic papers, publish academic-sounding journals, when the truth is what's contained in them is utter nonsense. But it sounds good.
I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but also you understand that especially on college campuses, there must be that open atmosphere in which we can consider different viewpoints, different opinions about things.
Absolutely. The college campus is a place for exploring new ideas, exploring outrageous ideas, looking at new views of things. But a fact is a fact. That's the difference. In an American history class, the class wouldn't spend time debating whether slavery really happened. or they even they wouldn't spend time debating whether slavery was really good for people of African descent, because as a result they got off the dark quote unquote continent of Africa. They live much better. If you compare someone's lifestyle here to someone's lifestyle in Africa, they have a better standard of living, better education, even with the discrimination. So those people really benefited from slavery, and slavery was a good thing. No one would look at it that way. They might analyze slavery from different perspectives, but they wouldn't say either it didn't happen or that it was a good thing. So too with the Holocaust. There's much to debate. Is the Holocaust the same as the Armenian genocide? Is it the same as the Cambodian genocide? Is it unique? Is it different? Was Hitler alone responsible? Did he give the order and did it work its way down? Was it something that his underlings thought up and it worked its way up? If the Nazis hadn't engaged in the Holocaust, might they have won the war? There are lots of things to debate, lots of things to discuss, and there's vast difference among historians on these issues. But that's very different than saying something happened when we know it's a fact, or something didn't happen when we know it's a fact.
So I want to tread very lightly here because I don't disagree with you, but doesn't there have to be room to question because history is, after all, only a recollection that has been handed down from one generation to the next. Cannot facts, or as we call them, facts, and I'm not arguing with you, but cannot they be distorted from generation to generation as the history is handed down?
Absolutely, and that's exactly what the deniers are trying to do. You remember that the history of the Holocaust is based on testimony of thousands of survivors, perpetrators who said, "We did it," and bystanders, the Poles in particular, who saw these trains loaded with people day after day, going into the camps, coming out empty, going into the camps, coming out empty. Crowded with people. Where were those people going? And of documents, not only testimony, but thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of documents, many of which I've held in my hands, plans for building the gas chambers, orders for gas chambers, and even now we have found testimony of the builders of the gas chambers justifying why they built the gas chambers and what purpose they served. On top of which, we have to also remember that it wasn't only Jews who went to the gas chambers. It was handicapped. The German handicapped were the first to go. They were the prototype for the final solution. Jews went, Gypsies went, some Polish intellectuals, some homosexuals, other peoples. So we're talking about numerous people who were killed here. And we're talking about vast array of documentation of testimony, leaving no doubt. If the deniers are right, then thousands of people have to be wrong, and every document has to be wrong.
And we have to understand, as you were saying a moment ago, what their real agenda in this is.
That's a very important point, because their agenda, they have a multi-faceted agenda. First of all, they're anti-Semites, pure and simple. Second of all, which a lot of people don't recognize, is they're white supremacist. Every white supremacist, white Aryan nation, and all these other groups has adopted Holocaust denial lock, stock, and barrel. Because you have to remember, the Nazis hated Jews, but they also felt that people of color were closer to animals. I mean, that's how they justified or explained Jesse Owens winning in the Olympics. They said he was built more like a horse than a human being, and that's why he was able to win. It's pretty outrageous, but that's how they looked. So these people are white supremacists as well as anti-Semites. The third agenda item of the Holocaust deniers is a neo-Nazi, neo-fascist agenda, which is why the extremist groups in Germany and Austria, in the former Soviet bloc, have been so attracted to Holocaust denial. Because if you can explain away the Holocaust, if you can say it didn't happen, then what's so wrong with National Socialism, with Nazism? If you can explain away the Holocaust, then what's so wrong with fascism? And then Nazism or National Socialism or fascism become viable political alternatives. As long as you've got the Holocaust there, you've got to explain away this blot on the family history, so to speak. If you can say it didn't happen, then family history becomes much simpler and much more easy to replicate.
Let me come back to something that you were alluding to a moment ago and putting their agenda together with what they're saying about the Holocaust. Supposing at some point down the road, I hope this would not happen, but supposing that they could get a significant number of people around the world to actually deny that, yes, there was a Holocaust, that they raised significant doubt, that maybe a poll would show that more people doubted it than believed it. Would the next item on the agenda to begin to be, and this is something you alluded to a moment ago, begin to erode our questioning if there was slavery? Were there actual? Would that be item number 2 on the list?
That's a very important point. I wrote this book not because I was only interested in the history of the Holocaust and Jewish history, but because I was interested in this phenomenon as an example of a growing assault on truth and on memory, and that's the subtitle of the book, that this is part of a general attempt to rewrite history. If this history is safe, no history is safe. Slavery will be next. Eastern European history will be rewritten. You'll want to find new scapegoats. A new regime will come up in some Eastern European country, and they'll want to scapegoat a group. They'll say they were responsible for communism or they were responsible for whatever, and this is part of a growing trend. History, which we so often dismissed, we say to someone, your history, it's a great put down. But history, which we've so often dismissed, has become the new battleground.
It is difficult, though, for lay people, not trained historians, and we're just trying to muddle through and find the truth in life and do the best we can. It's difficult when every few years another book comes out that purports to have long-lost documents showing that Franklin Roosevelt really did know that the Japanese were about to attack Pearl Harbor and let them attack it anyway, so we would be drawn into this war. And these are perhaps, in many cases, official documents that have been long sealed in some secret vault, and now they're out in the open for the first time, and now we have to revise what the history books told us. It's difficult for us sometimes to comprehend what is the truth, what is a made-up fact, and so forth.
You're absolutely right, but we still know that the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. When did Roosevelt know? Exactly when did he find out? What could he have done? Are matters that historians continue to explore. I think to say that he knew absolutely and let it happen is a bit extreme, but that's all matters to explore. But if someone were to come along and say, oh, it wasn't the Japanese who attacked Pearl Harbor, there was no attack on Pearl Harbor, or they might say those were really American planes that attacked Pearl Harbor, and the attack on Pearl Harbor was staged to get America into the war, people would say, you're nuts. That's really nuts, because a fact is a fact. The interpretation of when Roosevelt knew, that's open to debate. So I think this is what we have here is an attempt to say this didn't happen. And what I say to the deniers, I say to anybody who's not even, I don't talk to the deniers, I refuse to debate them, but what I say to people who might be intrigued by this is, if this is true, could you please explain to me where all these people are? Where are the parents of the survivors? Where are the siblings? Where are the children? Where are the cousins? Where are the neighbors? Where did these people disappear to? They used to say they disappeared into the Soviet Union. Well, the Soviet Union is no more, and anybody can come out who wants to. Anybody can make contact. Where are these people? So many people don't disappear by as virtue of some sort of hoax or some sort of trick. These people are gone.
Well, even the deniers do acknowledge that some people died from disease or starvation.
Well, that's what they argue. What they try to say is a small number died from disease and starvation. In fact, what they try to do, and this is something very important for Americans, but not only Americans to understand, is that what they try to do is make Germany the victim and the Allies, America in particular, the perpetrator. And they say all those people who died, those people we see in the movies at the end of the opening of the camps, those people were very well taken care of, they claim, by the Germans. And it was the American bombing, the Allied bombing, in particular the American bombing of the German infrastructure in the latter months of the war that broke the system that brought food to the camps, broke down the system, and those people starved because the Americans and the Allies bombed Germany and caused them to starve. Anything that goes wrong, they turn around and they make it America's fault. These people are inherently anti-American as well.
Do you have the slippery problem of, especially with young people, I'm thinking, with adults you can reason with, you could say, here's the evidence, but with young people in school, do you have this thing where as a parent, I know the harder you try to make your child believe something, the more resistance there is, and if they're hearing people on Oprah and Phil and Montel and all that talking about there really wasn't a Holocaust, and you try to tell, yes, of course there was. Do you have that problem too, that the tighter you squeeze, the more they want to slip away?
To some degree, and that's why I think it's so important to let the facts speak for themselves, to let the documents speak for themselves, let the survivors speak for themselves, let the perpetrators speak for themselves, perpetrators who say, we did it. Perpetrators who say, I was there, I saw it happen, I was part of it. And to ask the question, why would Germany say that it did this thing? Why would Germany take on this burden of saying, yes, we committed what is considered by many to be the worst crime in her history certainly in modern history. And we did that, and we are guilty of that. Germany doesn't deny it happened. Germany says we did it, and we're responsible for it. Give me one good reason why Germany would do that if this wasn't true. But I think what we have to be careful about is getting sucked into the debate. And just to demonstrate to students, look at all these documents, look at these thousands of documents, look at these figures that people are missing, look at this testimony, look at survivors, perpetrators, bystanders. How can this all be a hoax and the deniers be the one people who tell the truth?
Deborah Lipstadt is 77 now. For the past 2 years, she's been a special U.S. envoy combating Holocaust denial. And in 2023, Time magazine named her one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Now you can get your copy of Denying the Holocaust by Deborah Lipstadt by tapping the link in our show notes, by clicking the link in the description below if you're listening to this on YouTube, or by going to our website, heardeverything.com. We may earn an Amazon commission if you make a purchase. Heardeverything.com is where you can also hear my 1990 interview with former Israeli Mossad agent Peter Z. Malkin, the one who captured Adolf Eichmann.
I want to understand what makes a man like me and you become what he is. Because people said he's a monster. Nonsense. It's not a monster, it's a human being. A human being was trained and accepted the training to be what he was.
And my 1991 interview with the illustrator who turned the story of the Holocaust into a best-selling graphic novel called Mouse, Art Spiegelman.
I didn't realize it was going to be so shocking when I was working on it. It wasn't like I had a high concept. On the other hand, I realized that if I was outside of this and somebody was telling me, I just heard about this comic book, it's about the Holocaust and it uses animals to tell the story, I'd go, oh, geez, we've reached some new lows here, you know.
And of course, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything, we'll get political, but maybe not in the sense that we've been getting political the last several months. We'll revisit my 2006 conversation with former Ohio governor, former congressman, and one-time presidential candidate John Kasich.
Sports, politics, business, religion, the pop culture, it's everywhere, this battle. One group of people who've decided I'd rather cash in, even if it costs me who I am, versus those people who say I'm not going to.
That's next time on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.